can speak for all of us. I think it really just carried on, like, because most people think of Florida State of this team that always lack, this team of sort of say villains, but we got to working just as hard as everybody else. And in my opinion, we got the hardest practices in the whole country. So I don't really agree with we were overlooked or something like that. I just think that people were waiting to feel our presence. People were waiting for Florida State to do what we're doing right now.
Yeah, we people always gonna doubt us and have, you know, that feeling about an upset or something like that, you know. But that's why we have that chip on our shoulder. That's why we play the way we do, and that just drives us. That feeds us, and that's what it did the whole season. It just fed us, and now we're here going to the big one.
It just goes back to spring training, fourth quarter drills. I mean, training together and just seeing the nation doubt us, and I mean, being able to come to practice and work every day and look Tevin or James or Coach Fisher and I and say, "I love you, Coach. I love you, James. I love you, Tevin." And then you go to find yourself telling someone you love them every day. Then you just, I mean, you just build a brotherhood, and we started believing in each other, and that's when I felt that we was the best team in the country. And I said it earlier on at the ACC kickoff that it didn't matter what people say about us or think about us. It was all about what we thought and felt about each other.
Middle of the room.
Jameis, you mentioned that in this game and also in the Miami game that you come out a little bit overhyped. Obviously, moving into the national championship game, that's the kind of environment that obviously will be very hyped as well. What do you think are some steps that you can take to make sure that you come into that game, you know, really under control and not overhyped like what you were talking about just a little bit earlier?
Poise and leadership. I learned from my mistakes. Obviously, I got to get better in that aspect because I am young, and of course, I try to get hype and try to get the team into it. But I got to have poise. I got to have more leadership where I don't have to be the loud guy all the time. That's what we got Tevin for. But obviously, I got to keep going. I got to keep getting better, and that's one thing about being a quarterback. I mean, you don't have days like that. You're gonna throw some picks. And then, like, I'm not trying to have an excuse because Coach Fisher always said we don't got pockets and football pants, so that probably was a little excuse about the Miami game. But obviously, I got to prepare more and just get better on. I mean, I'm just glad we did.
3 more questions. I know who you are. First row.
Jessica Davis with ESPN Orlando. This sort of is very similar to what the gentleman just asked, but is there anything specifically that you think or do with yourself that makes you center yourself out when you're that overhyped?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Fisher, he puts me in my place. So he puts me in my place, and
for example,
I mean,
give an example.
I can't really, because he does it in so many ways. I mean, he's like a father. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the father got to beat you. Sometimes the father got to yell at you, and sometimes the father just got to cope.
Second row.
James, Mark Schwartz with ESPN. Can you explain all the emotions you've had over the last few weeks and how much of a burden was lifted over the last 72 hours with the win and the result?
Well, I don't feel that it was a burden because actually the football field is our sanctuary. So every time I stepped on the field, every time we step on that field, everything outside of us, everything that's happened outside of our family is just zoned out. Because that's how we do it. The Syracuse game, when everything came up, we took the initiative as a team, like, hey, let's focus. Let's get this done. Let's make this happen. And we just kept, it was a process because we knew that we had one goal set on our mind. And right now, we haven't reached that goal yet, but we headed there.
Last question.
Stuart Mandel from Sports Illustrated. For any of the players, when you play Auburn, you'll be playing a team from the SEC with the conference that's won the last 7 BCS titles. As college football players, do you view them, that conference as kind of the standard bearer yourselves, and what would it mean to be the team that possibly ends that streak?
Marshall.
In my honest opinion, I feel like it's not the ACC conference versus the SEC conference. It's Florida State versus Auburn. It's a bunch of great, talented group of kids over here versus a great group of talented kids there. I mean, it's all about eliminating the clutter. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they're a good football team, but it's us versus them. We don't really look at it from that standpoint because at the end of the day, you got to line up and play in between the white lines for 60 minutes.
No.
I always like to quote what we always talk about, but we say our team has no face. So when we say that, you know, we're not looking at them and saying, oh, they Auburn, or we're not looking at them saying, oh, they come from the SEC, or, you know, whoever it may be. We go out there and compete against ourselves. So we're not, you know, they're a good team like Jordan said. So we're going to go out there and prepare for a great game, a great team.
James, take us on.
We got the utmost respect for everybody that we play. But at the end of the day, like Jordan said, we Florida State and they're University of Auburn. And me being from Alabama, I'm going to be excited to play this game. Coach Fisher coaching Alabama, I'm going to be excited to play this game. And it's a man that me and Coach Fisher both love on their coaching staff. And his name is Damian Craig. So we're not going to get involved in all this SEC, ACC stuff because we didn't made it. We didn't made it to it, and we're not done yet. We fear no one. What you say, Coach? Our opponent has no face, so we don't care.
All right, thank you. Congratulations, guys.